Hey guys, I'm here today with the 2018 Jaguar E-Pace SE. I've already filmed kind of a review on this car. I filmed a night drive a few days ago, and I figured it would be a good idea to kind of give you guys an idea what this thing looks like during the day and just do a quick walk around and POV test drive. I've been driving this car all week and I like it. I honestly think it's a pretty good compact crossover SUV. I've got a decently sized spare tire in the back, nice wide opening, low deck loading height, and a little cargo cover here. Now the back seats in this E-Pace are comfortable, but set to my driving position at 5'10", it's a little tight back here. There isn't as much legroom as there is in, say, the Volvo XC40, but a lot of the cargo space is vertical, so you do get a lot of headroom. Ingress and egress are pretty easy, and you have this massive panoramic sunroof. You do have heated seats in the back, as well as a bunch of 5-volt USB ports and chargers. A couple of cup holders. Really like these leather seats. They're nice and soft. And the interior design overall is a little bit F-type-ish. I kind of like that. It's a good-looking, minimalist cabin. Everything's bolted together pretty nicely. Great materials throughout. It feels pretty premium, and it should. This is a $55,000 E-Pace as spec'd. It's the P250, as it's badged on the back, P250 all-wheel drive, which means it has 246 horsepower and 269 pound-feet of torque. That's mated to a 9-speed automatic ZF transmission. It's a pretty good drivetrain. There's a little bit of power fall off to the higher revs, but otherwise it's pretty much your standard 2-liter turbo feel and driving experience. See the panoramic sunroof move back there. Now I've noticed that when you do have that open, every time you turn the car off, that'll close to keep the sunlight and the heat out of the vehicle, and then it'll open up right when you start it back up. Kind of a neat feature that I'm sure you can probably turn off somewhere in the menus, but since I've had the car, I've kind of left it on because it's kind of nice. We talked a little bit about the infotainment in my last review, but basically all you need to know is it's pretty easy to use. It's nice and responsive. You can swipe, pinch, just like you would with a phone. Some of the buttons are a little bit small to press at speed, but that kind of goes with any of these systems, and it's positioned a little bit low from your sight line, but in order to touch it without any other auxiliary or other controls down here, that's kind of what you're left with. So it's a good system. I like that it's responsive, it's high res, it's pretty, it looks good. It seems to work, and there's not a lot of functionality hidden in the infotainment, which is good. You've got a lot of buttons to work your most used items like climate control, radio, volume, stuff like that. I have enjoyed driving this week. It's a comfortable, quiet, luxurious little crossover. I'm not 100% sold on the looks, but I think, Jaguar's trying to break into this market as well, and it's a good entry-level premium vehicle to introduce buyers into the brand, or if they're looking for something that's just kind of think of this as your lifted baby F-Type, I guess. I'm not sure I'd go that far, but it's a nice little package. And if you want something that's a little bit different, that's got the Jaguar badge, you can't really go wrong with this car. To be perfectly honest, it feels very Land Rover-ish. Very Range Rover Evoque. Baby Evoque, maybe. Really cool little features in here. One of my favorite is just the operation of the cruise control. You have the typical Jaguar speed limiter, which will basically, you can set a speed that the car won't let you go past while just keeping control of the accelerator and everything. And the cruise control itself is really easy to operate. There's no on-off button. You just press up to set your speed, and then you can control your distance, your following distance from here. It's a very intuitive and, in practice, easy to use system. The radar-guided cruise control itself works pretty well. It's not one of the best systems I've ever used, but it's definitely good enough to be usable and useful in the real world. These seats are really comfortable. Nice driving position, a lot of adjustability of thigh support here that you can change down below. They look good. And you have a bunch of different selectable drive modes in here as well. You have a rain, ice, snow mode, eco mode, comfort mode, and dynamic mode. Personally, I found that the eco mode is kind of the best suited to daily driving conditions. Comfort, the throttle response tends to be a little bit abrupt, a little bit jerky, and eco mode really smooths out the driving character of the car and makes for a really nice engine transmission behavior. The suspension, I would say, is a little bit stiffer than average. It could, and part of that could be because of the 19-inch wheels. I drove an E-Pace that was kind of a hopped-up, top-of-the-line version in the spring, and the suspension was incredibly stiff. This is very nice compared to that. This is very livable, it's very comfortable, but it is a little bit on the harsher side of comfort, just because I think they're kind of trying to make this a sporty drive, and it does handle really, really well. The grip and the overall dynamic character of this car on corners is fantastic. Front end has a ton of grip, ton of turn in, and really is quite fun to drive. This would be a pretty fun car on a back road. Let's see if we can get some entrance wrap action here. Looks like we can. We'll throw it into dynamic and sport mode. Get some extra revs. The gauges turn a nice red, which is probably kind of hard to see right now. Yeah, quite a bit of grip from this car. A lot of mechanical grip, and then once you get towards the limit, you can feel the front wheels kind of doing some torque vectoring with the brakes, and that kind of keeps the front end in line. A lot of traction from the all-wheel drive system as well. With some winter tires, this would definitely be a pretty competent car in the snow. Acceleration is ample. It's not blistering, it's not going to blow your socks off, but it does a good job getting up to speed. And when you are in eco mode, it does give you an opportunity to kind of utilize the torque from the engine. Sometimes downshifts are a little slow to happen. Throttle response can get a little bit funky, but for the most part, this is a really pretty good transmission engine combination. I do like the way this car drives, just when you're driving normally, not when you're doing a POV test drive video. When you're on the daily commute, this is a really wonderful drivetrain. It's been relatively efficient for me, still averaging about the EPA estimates, 21 city, 28 highway. I'd say you could expect to get about 24, 23 miles to the gallon on this in the combined cycle, which isn't too bad. It does take premium fuel, or at least premium fuel is recommended. Probably get away with, not sure if it's one of the ones where it's required or recommended, but on the gas cap it does say recommended, so I assume you could probably get away with putting in lower grade fuel, even though you'll probably get a little bit less power out of the car. And I'm not sure if that would affect things in the long term. we come to an abrupt stop there is forward collision warning. Do have all the safety features in this Jag. They all seem to work pretty well. Lane keep assist kind of works in the distance in the background. And if you do tend to sway over, it'll give you a little bit of a correction, but it's not very intrusive, which is nice. Little bit of noise over bumps. I assume that's from these really low profile tires. These 19s are pretty big wheels, but they do look good. It's always kind of a design comfort trade-off there. Okay, so there's the new E-Pace. I think I think this is a good entry into the market. It's a really nice job from Jaguar. They've made this feel premium, feel like a high quality item. It's not a dumbed down version of the rest of their lineup. It's a newer vehicle, so this does have just a nice feel to it. It feels like a quality piece of engineering, and it's a nice car to drive as well. I would say I definitely prefer this to the BMW X2. If I were to compare this to the XC40, I'm totally a Volvo fanboy, and there's definitely some bias in there, so I'd probably go for the Volvo. There's also a little bit more, the Volvo has a little bit more of a roomy interior. But that's not to say that this is cramped, it's just definitely a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller. The ergonomics on this car are still very good, much like the Volvo. There aren't as many creative, cool storage solutions as in the Volvo, but and the Volvo is a lot more competitively priced. So it's probably about 10 grand cheaper for a similarly spec'd vehicle. But again, think of this as kind of a baby Range Rover, and for that, I think it's definitely a good vehicle to own. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.